What makes this, to me, a really good series is that after 2 games, if you're a Celtic fan, you can absolutely argue your way to you're the better team. You really can. And if you're a Warriors fan, you feel the same way. And both the Celtics and the Warriors have a growing concern that may be a reality. So let's start with that. Here's Boston's concern. Jayson Tatum is a star with a role player's confidence. He's averaging 20 a game. Tatum's starting to doubt himself. He was hot briefly early yesterday, but finished with the worst plus-minus of any player on either team. That's who Tatum is. Tatum verbalized it. He's not the confident star that we're used to, accustomed to in this league. Jaylen Brown has much more confidence. Tatum's just more gifted. And he is shrinking in front of our eyes. And this is what the Warriors do. They throw Wiggins at you. They throw Draymond at you. They get in your head. They got a lot of depth defensively. The Warriors' concern. Klay Thompson, that last game against Dallas, that's not what he is. He's missing shots. He's bad, and Steve Kerr knows it. Steve Kerr kept him on the floor in scrub time last night, trying to get his confidence back. He's taking bad shots. He's missing open shots. He doesn't have confidence around the rim. And if he doesn't score, this team becomes too Steph reliant. I mean, you can't ask Steph to carry the offense. And Jordan Poole's not going to give you a bunch of games like last night when he couldn't miss in the second half. But let's talk about why Boston should be confident. Let's be honest. They got a split. Right? That's the job. They have home court advantage. They can't possibly play as poorly as they did in the second half. So they've already played their worst half. They got to feel good. And outside of Steph, ask yourself, take away Steph, who's really been consistent for 2 games offensively for this juggernaut? Nobody. Poole was awful in game 1. He was awful in the first half, and he was good in the second half. Draymond was bad first half. First game. He is great yesterday. Now, the Warriors are thinking to themselves. Warrior fan today is thinking, if not for a terrible fourth quarter in game 1, we'd be up 2-0 in the series, and Klay Thompson's not playing well. They also came into game 1, as we told you, rusty. So nobody outside of Steph played particularly well in game 1. They can argue the minute we got a game under our feet, we crushed these guys. Also, they know deep down our star Steph is way more reliable in a big spot than their star Jayson Tatum, whose confidence ebbs and flows based on if he's making shots. Steph never loses confidence. MJ, LeBron never lose confidence, or rarely. Tatum loses it every other quarter. So both have a real concern. Both have reasons to believe they're the better team. The most interesting part to me, is now we move to Boston. So we know the Celtics are really good, but why in their last 9 games have they lost 4 at home? Because I think you become your star in the NBA. If your star is hungry and humble, Tim Duncan, that's your dynasty. If your star is outspoken and flamboyant, Heatles, Golden State, that's your dynasty. If your star is tough and relentless, MJ, that's what the Bulls were. You become the personality of your star. It's always been this way in basketball. Much smaller locker rooms than baseball or hockey or football. You got like 12, 13 dudes, and 6 really play and 2 matter. And Tatum gets tight. Tatum loses confidence. And that's what's fascinating to me, because deep down after 2 games, I believe 2 things are true. That the Celtics play with the confidence of a runner-up, and the Warriors play with the confidence of a champion. But I also believe this, and the numbers bear it out. In the last 2 series, if Robert Williams is healthy, the center for Boston, Bam Adebayo disappears. Kevon Looney disappears. Kevon Looney was great last night because Robert Williams didn't play in the second half. Robert Williams didn't play as much. When Robert Williams, I know you don't think he's that valuable. When he is on the floor, he eliminated Miami's interior scoring and Golden State's interior scoring, and you are left with jumpers. It is hard to win a championship with jumpers, especially 3-point jumpers, Because outside of Steph, there's nobody on the Warriors right now you can trust doing that. But Robert Williams gets hurt, and he gets hurt a lot. So I think this is a fascinating series where if Robert Williams played 30 minutes, the remainder of the series, I would take Boston, but I'm not sure he will. And I also think you are what your star is, and the Celtics play with the confidence of a runner-up. And this is what, the 6th final for these guys at Golden State? They have been here before. They've seen it before. They've led before. They've trailed before. They've won at home. They've lost at home. They've won on the road. The confidence thing, it ain't close. Golden State, they are swinging from the heels. And Boston gets really tentative, even though when Robert Williams is on the floor, man, and Marcus Smart's hitting jumpers, wow, you can't beat him. So this is as good a finals as I've seen in a while. I really, really like it. I think it can go either way. I'll stick with my prediction of Golden State. And as I said early, I think health will be a factor, Robert Williams' health specifically. So I love Draymond Green, as you know. Draymond Green, to me, has always been Dennis Rodman, but with skill. You fanboys out there, you love your Westbrook and Carmelo Anthony. They've never made a teammate better. John Wall's never made a teammate better. Westbrook has never made a teammate better. Draymond Green has made every teammate he's ever played with better. Last night, he hit 2 field goals. And there's an argument to be made, totally discombobulated the Celtics offense in Jaylen Brown and was the most valuable player on the floor. Took Jaylen Brown out of his game, led both teams in assists, led the Warriors in minutes, complete catalyst, hit 2 field goals. But we live in a world, everybody wants to get on the cover of Slam magazine, and everybody wants to show me your baskets. And find me the teammate Westbrook's made better in his career. Isn't that kind of what basketball is, winning and stuff? Like, isn't that why we're playing? Or is it just for you to get your triple-double? The fanboys just don't get this. You ever played basketball at the Y? Let me simplify it. Have you ever played basketball at the Y? The one guy you do not want to guard or to be guarded by, trash talks, dives, he's always touching you, he's always banging into you, it's all elbows, all knees, you're on the floor, and you're playing at the Y, and you're like, I'll have anybody guard me except that guy. And he's never the most talented. He has to compensate for his lack of offensive skill. It's the one guy at the Y you don't want near you. He's sweating on you and grabbing you and bumping into you and trash talking, and he's kind of intimidating, and you're always getting your legs and your arms wrapped. It's the one guy you don't want to play against. That is Draymond. Basketball is overwhelmingly built for offense. And so these rare defensive players that are just annoying are so valuable. I mean, you watch that Michael Jordan documentary, and it doesn't matter if it's Magic or Isaiah. They're like, Rodman's the guy that screwed everything up. He just screwed everything up. He'd discombobulate your offense. And remember, if it's just offense, Boston wouldn't be here. A big part of this series is going to be defense. And Boston's maybe better as a team. There's nothing on the floor quite like Draymond. Because Draymond, unlike Marcus Smart shoots like he's a great offensive player. Draymond knows he's not. But I'm watching it last night. This dynasty begins and ends with Steph's offense and Draymond's intimidation and defense. Klay Thompson's wonderful, but he's a catch-and-shoot guy, doesn't create a lot for others, and right now isn't playing right. So just think about this. Just in the playoffs, when Draymond's on the floor, the Warriors are plus 107 in 2 games. No, excuse me, in the entire playoffs. Plus 107 when he's on the floor, minus 9 when he's off it. They're a totally different team. And Jaylen Brown, a very good player. He gets it. He knows exactly what Draymond is for the Warriors. And for everybody complaining and whining in Boston, oh, it's not a technical foul. It should be a technical foul. It's the finals. Do you watch basketball? Like, have you watched for the last few years? In the finals, the refs swallow the whistle. In the finals, the refs get out of the way. The finals isn't about boys, it's about men. That's why veteran teams overwhelmingly dominate this series. I mean, look at this series right now. Who's really been good? Steph, Draymond, Marcus Smart, Al Horford. Who hasn't been? Young Jayson Tatum. These finals are going to be decided that my entire life outside of the bubble. Men. The refs swallow the whistle. They get out of the way of the fighters. They just step back, let you clutch, let you grab, get more physical. They did it in game 1. They did it in game 2. They're not going to throw out Draymond Green. That's not what they want to do. They don't want to influence the finals, and Draymond Green knows it. It's the finals. He's been now in 6. He's going to push. He's going to pull. They'd throw it out if it wasn't Draymond Green. Yeah, they probably would, because other players don't end up in the finals all the time like Draymond Green. You've got to know how the game changes, how the room changes. Just like all of us in life, there are certain things you can say in front of your mother-in-law, and there's certain things you can't. There's certain things you can talk about with your boss, and there's certain things you can't. The finals are different. You are allowed more physicality and more pushing, and the refs swallow the whistle, and they're not going to throw you out. That's a you problem if you can't figure it out, Boston. That is a you problem. Because Draymond knows how to manipulate. I've said this forever. Years and years ago, I forget the game. It was LeBron and KD. It was a big game. I think KD at the time was an Oklahoma City Thunder. LeBron may have been at the time Miami or Cleveland. I forget. But I remember there was a moment on the baseline, and LeBron used his body on KD and pushed him and fouled him. And it was like, that wasn't about physicality. That was about LeBron's brain. He knew in that moment, refs weren't going to, they were going to just let two of the greatest players in the world play. And it's like in the Super Bowl, on Hail Marys. They're not going to call pass interference at a Hail Mary in a Super Bowl. You guys go fight for it. You don't see the pass interference a lot of times in the NFL in big playoff games. They're going to let you fight for it. Belichick's always figured that out. You watch the Patriot players. They are scratching and clawing because they know when you get to the big games, the Super Bowls, the refs want out. Refs don't want to be any part of making the decision. And this is what Draymond gets. He completely understands the whistle. Now, he may get a technical again. He may get thrown out. But he's going to push that line and push that line and push that line. And that's why they're in the finals again. And that's why when he's on the floor in the playoffs, they're plus 107 and minus 9 when he's not. Like, if you really get basketball and you think basketball, not just watch it, if you don't get his value, 2 field goals last night. And he totally disrupted the Celtics offense. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.